What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down the best wide receiver in the 2023 NFL Draft Class, Jordan Addison. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and you would like to improve your route running, your press releases, your hands, and want specific drills with sets and reps to improve each aspect of your game, check out that very first link in the description below for our 8-week wide receiver on-field workout schedule. What you'll get access to is 200 plus wide receiver drills all mapped out for you, put into a daily, weekly, and monthly schedule with the exact sets and reps and examples of each drill to follow. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So this is probably the best route that Addison ran on the year. I think him going to the Minnesota Vikings is huge because I think he's going to be a great addition to that Vikings offense and a great 1-2 punch with Justin Jefferson. And their play style is extremely similar because they're both obviously great route runners, and that's what I want to highlight today. So this first example, probably best route he's ran on the year, this is a whip route, right? So on any double move, a wide receiver obviously has to be a salesman. So a whip route, for those of you that are not familiar, it's where you're pretty much selling like you're running a slant, trying to get this DB either to crash down in zone, run with you, and then you whip back out to the sideline while keeping your hips and shoulders facing like the line of scrimmage, if you will. Some people call it a zig, some people call it a pivot. I call this thing a whip route. So when you break to this whip, there's really three specific things that you have to emphasize, and this is what every single great route runner is able to do on a double move to sell the double move. So when you break to that double move, first thing is you need speed, right? Pretty simple concept, pretty simple terminology. When you guys are running a double move, you got to make it look like the first move. And obviously, when you guys are running a slant route against press coverage, when you guys lose them off the line or just cut, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be running fast. You're going to be running hard. So that's what we need you to be able to do on a double move. So number one thing to sell this double move to get the DB to crash down is speed. A lot of wide receivers will get to this point. They will run. They'll cross this DB's face, but right before they drop their hips and break down, because it is challenging to be able to drop on a dime like this while running full speed, wide receivers will slow themselves down. They'll run full speed and then they change their speed. And that change of speed is something we call an indicator. And we cannot have an indicator to that DB because that's how we get locked up. So the first thing to sell a double move is speed. And that goes for anything. That goes for a whip route. That goes for an out and up. That goes for a post corner. That first move needs to have some speed. Now, number two, and this goes for any type of man coverage and any route against man coverage, what is a DB supposed to be looking at on you? He's supposed to be watching your hips, right? He's supposed to be reading your body language. A disciplined DB is not going to be looking at your head and shoulders. He's not going to be looking at your feet. His eyes are going to be locked in right onto your hips because his attitude is, okay, the hips are not going to lie to me. Wherever the wide receiver's hips are going, that is where he is going to go. Now, as a wide receiver, I could almost like use that to my advantage, that knowledge, because when you break to the slant, if you guys commit your hips and commit your shoulders to the slant and don't round it early, that is a way to sell that route until the last possible second. What so many wide receivers will do is they'll cross, they'll go on a double move, but right before they drop into the break, they will start to turn their hip and turn their shoulder before they even drop their hips to decelerate on a cut. That gives the route away because that's what a DB is going to be looking at. He's watching that body language. So you have to almost think of it like your belly button is committed to the route. Like, let's say, for example, you're running a comeback. This goes for pretty much any route. Your belly button has to be committed to the opposite end zone until it's time to drop your hips. On a whip route, your belly button has to be committed to the slant until you drop your hips to sell it. Now, another thing that I want to discuss is that your pad level, not necessarily turning, but raising is also another form of an indicator. Because, listen, if I'm a DB and I see you raise up your chest, like you pop your chin up, you pop your chest up so you can drop down into a break and get that like level change, if you will, that's an indicator. I know you're about to make a break. So not only do we have to keep my hips and shoulders committed, I have to keep it at the exact same level. So two out of three things that go into selling every route, not just a double move: speed and body language. And then last but not least is stride. This is something that DBs are taught to look for when expecting a double move. They're taught that, okay, if this guy crosses your face on a slant, or maybe it's like a post, and he changes up his stride length, he starts taking choppy steps to expect a double move. Now, why would a wide receiver ever take choppy steps? Because they're preparing for the break. Because again, like I've said before, fellas, it's very, very tough to do all of these things and change direction on a dime. It is very, very hard to run full speed and just drop on a dime. That's something you should strive for as a wide receiver because that's what all the greatest wide receivers at the next level are able to do. They're able to change direction quickly and on a dime. So a lot of guys don't know how to maintain their stride. To get this DB to crash, you have to cut in front. We have to be running full stride, full speed, and commit that pad level. Now, like I've been saying throughout this whole clip, it is very, very tough to change direction on a dime like that when you're selling the route. So when you guys drop into this break, you have to think of it. You have to think about two specific things. Number one, it is a violent sit down of your butt. You were trying to almost think of it like you're playing musical chairs, if you will. I'm sure all of you have seen musical chairs been played. I'm sure all of you played musical chairs at one point. And when that music stops and you have to sit in the chair, do you sit in the chair slowly? No, you sit in the chair quickly, as fast as you can. That's how I need you guys to be able to drop into the break. Now, when it comes down to running routes, whether you're running a whip route, whether you're running a comeback, whether you're running a dig, there's obviously selling it. There's obviously the break point. But after the break point, you have to do something called winning the race. And that means you have to accelerate out of the break. We got to be able to get separation at my break, but I also have to be able to keep separation and burst out. So when he drops into this break, he's got that great sit of his hips. He's sitting down. It's violent, but what the mistake a lot of wide receivers will make, and you see a lot of these, more so beginner type route running wide receivers, they'll drop into the break, but they'll sit down, but they'll take it too literal. They'll have their chest straight up in the air. Their weight will be on their heels, and that's not an efficient position to drive out of the break. What we want to try to do is we want to sit down. We want to have that quick sit in the chair, and you almost want to think of it like you're bringing your chin to your knee. That's the level change that we want. We sit, chin goes to knee, because this is an explosive balance position. When that chin goes to your knee, the weight stays on the ball of your foot, it stays on your toes, and when that weight's on your toes, and you're in an explosive low position, you can drive, create some energy, and actually accelerate out of the break to widen yourself from the DB. So don't just think of it when you're changing direction that you're just sitting down. It's a violent sit, but that chin should be almost trying to touch that knee, putting us in an explosive body language position. So let's play this again, full speed. And again, that's a long-winded answer of how to run a whip route. But again, I want to show you how detailed it has to be. To be able to run routes at this kind of level, especially where he's playing at now, which is the NFL, DBs are so freaking talented. And there's no such thing as a little thing. These little intricacies that we talk about, those are a big deal because those things will make you more efficient and make your route more efficient. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job, Addison, selling, then dropping those hips to be able to get in and out of that break. Okay, so now this clip right here is a route from the combine. So t-shirts, shorts, or not shorts, but pants, like no full pads, nothing. Like no defense out there, no DB. It's not one-on-ones. Why would I even show this clip to talk to you about his route running? Because I want you to pay attention to his steps on this. So when he runs this route, this is going to be a route off of his 5th outside step. And again, we're going to talk about counting steps here in a second and why that's important. But I want you to pay attention to how smooth this route looks and how there is no change in his stride length. So let's play this full speed. So he comes off, no change in his stride. He's able to just cut right on a dime, get out of that break, get out of the break with speed. How is he able to do that? So if you're a younger wide receiver watching this and you guys want to get better at your route running and you're not sure how to, go about running routes and maintaining your stride. Like let's say, for example, you run routes, you set up a cone, you run up and then you kind of chop your feet right before the cone, then you make a break, right? That's obviously not selling the route. And so many young wide receivers, high school, youth ball, their coaches have them run routes off of yardage. And I get it. It's easy. It's easy for us to go out there and say, hey, you're going to run a dig at 15 yards, right? You're just going to go up to 15 and break. But sometimes when you're worried about yardage, what do your eyes do? Your eyes look down, right? So you're worried about the yardage. You want to break at a specific yardage, so your eyes look down. And that no longer sells fade. And usually when your eyes drop, that makes you slow down. But if you can get comfortable counting steps, that is going to make you a much more efficient wide receiver and maintain your stride while you play. So what do I mean by counting steps? You obviously don't want to go out to the field and count every single step that you take. You don't want to go, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, because that's too much thinking going on in your head, and you're going to end up playing even slower than if you were looking at yardage. What you want to do is you want to count inside or outside steps. Now, why do you want to do this? Number one, it's a timing thing. Because he's running this dig off of his 5th outside step. So every single every single receiver, has either an inside step or an outside step, right? So quarterback's lined up to the inside to his right. So his right foot is his inside foot. His left foot is his outside foot. So an inside breaking route would be off of his 5th, 4th, 3rd outside step, right? So you do not count the steps with the inside foot. So that would be 1. We don't count that 2nd step right here. We do not count that. Then that would be 2, 3, then you would go 4, then you go 5, and you break right off the 5th. Eyes stay up, good pad level, maintain the stride. Fellas, if you can get comfortable running routes off of steps, it is very, very tough for a DB to guard you when he's in zone because it looks smooth, it looks fast, looks like you're running a fade and not thinking about it. I can't tell you how many wide receivers will run routes and slow themselves down, raise their pad level, chop their stride because they're trying to break at a certain landmark. Now, listen, when it's man coverage, I get it. When you got a guy who's pressed up right in front of your face, that's when it's about getting to a yard, right? Like, you have to be able to know both. Like, let's say, for example, you're running like a quick bang 8 post, right? And that cut is usually off of your 3rd outside step. When you got press coverage and you have to run that quick post, your break is probably going to be at 8 to 10 yards. That's where you're going to try to get to. So you have to know both because when that DB's in front of your face, chances are when you're working a press release, he gets hands, the step count goes out the window. But if he's off in zone, it is a timing throw. You have to understand certain throws like maybe a 10-yard out, a quick 5-yard out, a quick post. That QB is not waiting for you to look and get out of the break. He is anticipating it. And if you guys break off of the wrong step, if you guys run up and you're not counting steps and then you slow yourself down, then you cut and then you break, that quarterback's going to throw that thing too early and you're not going to be able to catch up to it. He expects us to be there on a certain step. Take it from me who played quarterback. I never once looked at the exact yardage and was like, okay, I'm throwing the ball there. Like you can kind of generally tell, but it was always based off of timing, especially on timing throws, because he's not staring you down. He expects you to be at a certain spot at a certain time. So young wide receivers, if you want to be able to run routes like this, be smooth like this, make sure that you are working routes off of steps. Everything that Addison does is very smooth because I'm sure everything that he trains is based off of steps, 3-step rhythm, 4th outside, etc. So make sure we get comfortable with that if you're a young wide receiver. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like a full 2-month wide receiver on-field workout schedule that you can do, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that. I'll see you guys next time.